It's great to be here another day. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice. We'll be glad in it. The question is asked, Archbishop, what do you have to say pertaining to the events that we face and we are facing right now? I call on the church and other ministers that are in relationship with nationally, internationally, to pray continually, doing warfare in the spirit realm, because it takes the hand of God to bring the victory. Every day you're hearing something new, something different. One day you hear coronavirus is from China, next thing comes up, says it's from San Francisco, and they're traveling apparently around the world, connecting this virus. And sometimes you don't know what to believe. As you know, that my church kept open until the very last day when the government said that places of worship should be closed. I believe that is not being irresponsible, but I believe it's how you know Christ and your faith in Him to bring change and help in the time of need. For if we as a church cannot be in place to give help to people in this hour, what will become of our world or society? I remember years back when Ghana went through a lot of turmoil with the criminals, and the only place you could turn to is the police station. The police station doors were locked, gates were locked. They were killing policemen too, and even the policemen used to wear, some of them used to wear uniforms. And the only place you could have turned to also was in fear. I do not in no way blame the government for taking the stand it took. I just want the record to show that my church doors were open until they said to shut it. My position in this is that when you allow governments in the house of God, in the places of worship, you set a precedent, and sooner or later you can't tell them not to come back at another time, stop here, don't come, because you open the door for that. I believe how this should have been addressed is the ministers of the gospel who are connected in any way with the government or who are in places of authority in this government, they could have connected with other ministers of the gospel and have an understanding that this should be done for the safety of people. But when you take a back seat, feeling that it's not your place, you're too high up there apparently to speak to other ministers, and you allow the government to do your head job, then we are opening a door that is going to be hard to close in the future. It's not a good thing for our church history to reflect that the church went this route, not of closing doors, but allowing, did not speak to each other pertaining to this matter, and let that decision be made from the place of worship. I'm going to say it again. When you bring governments into the house of God, into the things of God, then you set a precedent. You cannot close that door, because sooner or later the next party come into power and they want to make a move, and they refer to the last thing that happened when we said nothing. So I do not blame the government. I believe they're taking the precautions necessary, and my prayer and hope is that our people are safe, and the safety of our nation and the world. And it takes prayer, a lot of prayer, to deal with this situation, because only God knows the truth. And I want to encourage persons, though you are home, keep praying. One shall chase 1,000, two shall put 10,000 to flight. There's strength in numbers. And when we get together as a people, I remember when Peter was in prison, the church gathered in the house. And out of that prayer, without ceasing, that unceasing prayer, that united prayer, Peter was delivered. It would have been hard if it was just one man praying, one person praying. But when the church get together, the church prayer, we are better together, strong together, and we're able to accomplish more together. So, though we may be far apart, I hope that we could join hearts and hands, united, and come against this. This is an evil against the world. The world is looking for the church to help. Doctors are looking for help beyond medical science. Because Martin Luther King says we have to learn to live as brothers or perish as fools. We are where we are at this time. Where do we go from here? There's nothing that could be undone. We are at this point. What is the position of the church, not only now but in the future? Should something like this happen again, what do we do? Do we close the church doors every time something like this happens? Is that the position of the church? We have to find a common ground before we become a mockery. We have to decide if we're going to come together and fight, if we're going to flee. We have to decide if it's wisdom we are operating in our fear. I remember when Goliath stood against Israel, all Israel backed down, was fearful. And God started up a man by the name of David to remove that threat. Our prayer is that God will intervene and do what is necessary to destroy what we are facing. I want to share with you today for a while from the book of John, chapter 21. The word of God said, "So when they had dined, Jesus said to Simon, Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my lambs. He said to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my sheep. He said unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, Lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus said unto him, Feed my sheep. Verily, verily, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou guardest thyself, and walkest whither thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thy hand, and another shall gird thee, and carry thee whither thou wouldest not. This spake he, signifying by what death he should glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he said unto him, Follow me. John ends his book with a moving scene in which Jesus spoke to Peter and a disciple whom Jesus loved, presumably John himself. Somewhere I read. Jesus asked Peter the same question 3 times. A painful reminder of Peter's 3 denials of him. The thrice asked question has been generally understood to have special force in the restoration of Peter, who had thrice denied his Lord, and now thrice declares his love for him, and is thrice entrusted with a work for him. It may not be fanciful to trace significance, even in the external circumstances under which the question was asked. By the side of the lake, after casting his net into the sea, had Peter first been called to be a fisher of men. The lake, the very spot on the shore, the nets, the boat, would bring back to his mind in all their fullness the thoughts of the day which had been the turning point of his life. By the side of the fire of coals, had denied his Lord. As the eye rests upon the fire of coals before him, and he's conscious of the presence of the Lord, who knows all things, burning thoughts of penitence and shame may have come to his mind, and these may have been the true preparation for the words which should follow. Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? Our Lord's words seem to address him as one who had fallen from the steadfastness of the rockman, and had been true rather to his natural than to his apostolic name. But in prospect of the great work before him requires some such renewal of his call and reestablishment of his position as this. The question that I call the $1 million question has nothing to do with coronavirus. It has everything to do with the words of the Lord to Peter. Lovest thou me more than these? Thrice asked, and which one is important? 3 times this question is asked. The other 2 times, Jesus stopped short by saying, Lovest thou me? Lovest thou me? But first, when Jesus asked that question, that was the $1 million question. The question was, lovest thou me more than these? No one can be qualified to feed the sheep and lambs of Christ who doesn't love the good shepherd more than any earthly advantage or object. Jesus said to Peter, lovest thou me more than these? Not just like the second and third time he asks, if you love me, because if that question is asked to us, all of us, if we love the Lord, yes, we would say, yes, we love the Lord. You will hardly find people who would say, I hate the Lord. We say we love the Lord. Jesus would ask Peter the second and third time, lovest thou me? And not putting on the part more than these. Maybe Jesus was saying to him, I'm ready to accept the level of love you're walking in at this time. But that's not the level of love is demanded for the office. But because of grace, I will accept where you are. But where you are is not necessarily where My will is for you. The question remains the million-dollar question. Lovest thou me more than these? What was Jesus pointing to? Theologians differ. Some feel he was pointing towards, you see, you're loving me more than the boats, the fishes, the nets, your word calling. In another group, theologians felt that Jesus was pointing to, do you love me more than the other disciples that are here? Do you love me more than the disciples? Do you love me more than people? Do you love me more than popularity? Do you love me more than prosperity? I don't just want to hear if you love me. I want to compare it, because where your heart is reflects where your treasure is. Lovest thou me more than these? If the question was asked to us in this time, what would be our answer? Because it seems not relevant to us if we are pointing and we feel it's just a story we're reflecting on. For we would say we have no boats, we have no fish, we have no nets. I'm just listening to a story. But let's make it relevant in this time. What would Jesus be saying to us? Lovest thou me more than these? One of the things that is so neat pertaining to our country is that every election time we see some rising up of some spirits that divides us. We see the manifestation of racism. We see the denial of it. Before our eyes it exists, but we still deny it. We see different manifestations that come that divide us as a people and trip us up. Here we are, not just in an election time, but we're facing the coronavirus, the deadly virus. We deal with two things in one, at least. We would like to kill two birds with one stone. I remember preaching that message. How are we to handle this? Let's look at elections. Before elections, we talk with each other most of the times. We fellowship with each other. We go to each other's stores, and we have a good thing going. One people, one nation, one destiny. But then comes the month's election. And it's every man for himself, for his tribe. I believe there are some people who do not manifest the racial tendencies or are too wise to put it out there, but somehow they act it. Maybe behind the scene, maybe closed doors, maybe a text or phone call, maybe a position, maybe it's a culture, maybe it's a religious, but somehow it is being manifested, and we know the vibes are there. We feel the energy, the negative energy, that it's all well with us. And people, religious people from the church, the temples, the mosques, don't want to go there too far, but I want to talk about what is relative to me, the church. And sometimes you see the ugly head of racism in the nations, and in the nation that you're dealing with political parties, and then for some reason I'm black, you Indian, and we begin to hear the black man thing and the Indian man thing. The black man support the black party, the Indian man support the Indian party. And we lived with that for years. But the thing that is obnoxious is when the church starts to manifest that kind of behavior, that no longer we are people of God anymore, but now we are, what's more important is not being saints of God, but being affiliated to a sort, being known, being seen as a certain party person. We go into black man and Indian man and forgetting that we people of God So the question comes to us that is relevant. Do you love me more than your political party? Do you love me more than your race? Do you love me more than your culture? Do you love me? Will you give up all these things to me? Will God be number one in your life? Because if we love God more than anything else, race, status, popularity, prosperity, political affiliation, if we love God beyond that, then we can walk in our true destiny as one people, one nation, one destiny, because God will be leading. The church must not practice that kind of behavior that divides us. And the question, the $1 million question today, you as a church person, are you going to walk as God wants you to walk, in love? Are you going to listen to the voice of God and walk in love? Lovest thou me more than these? Jesus said to Peter, you say you love me more than these. I don't want you to just raise your hands and worship and sing and dance. And he says, the manifestation of this love for me, I don't even want you to send me a postcard. Don't text me. No. What I want you to show, how I want you to show this love is by feeding my sheep. Feeding my lambs, the young ones, the little lambs, the young ones, the immature ones, caring for them. And he says, feed my lambs, feed my sheep. And every time he says feed, there's a strong connotation to the word feed, because one is taking care of, caring for, but one is literally guiding and directing and having a level of authority, grooming. It's deeper as it goes, but he says, care for my sheep. My lost sheep, the sheep that are present, the sheep that are to come. In this time, we must understand that caring definitely includes helping persons. You cannot care for someone without being of help to them. In this time, as a church, we will not be able to open the church doors, but we could open the church treasury and be of help to people. Be of help to our brethren. Feed my sheep. Be of help, not just, the word says man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God, meaning that not just physical things, but that which the word of the Lord, that the word of God, that is spiritual. But the word did not say man shall not live by bread and just stop there. We need both. That's why it's important that we open the treasury and be a blessing to the people. We talk about, and we hear, stay indoors. And there is some people who are struggling and live one day at a time. Their livelihood is out there, and the question is asked, how are they to make it? In some countries, they say stay indoors, but they find a way to subsidize and to be of help to the people. We've had 50 years of mismanagement by leaders that we put to help us. So there's not a big set of money there to like United States, $2 trillion to the economy. We don't have that. Most I believe the governments could do is subsidize and tax waive off and speak to some people to help out in this time. So if we cannot expect that magnitude of assistance from our government, then it means that businesses, churches, mosques, temples have to rise up and to help people. We don't know how long it's going to go for. Be of assistance to those that are not even of your religion, of your race. At the end of the day, to the businessmen, not only your race supports you, but other races support you. So this is not a time to think about how you help your race. You got to think about how you help people. It was David in 1 Samuel 25 when he asked Nabal, sent a message and says, "We have supported you, protected your sheep. We have been of support to you. And now we need help and we ask your support." It's more than a favor. It's a subtle demand that says it's time for you to give back. For if you cannot give back in this hour, then you must be marked to not receive support from our communities. Those that are prospering, David, when he's writing to Nabal, he says, "To him that prospereth," you have a responsibility to help. I've opened my church treasury, and for the longest while I've been giving, and even before this situation, put lights in my streets so the street would not be dark, help build fences and bridges for my neighbors. I remember when I first came here to build one of the neighbors said, "There's a drugs money, man, building." And he talked twice. The third time I go to sue him, and I don't know, somebody get on to him, and he got on to me. He said, "Bishop, I'm sorry." I said, "You can't talk where you don't know. The only trouble I know is ventilated spirits. You don't talk where you don't know." I remember when we started helping the community, he was one of the first people I helped. Helped build his home, his bridge, whatever. Call him and give him stuff. Why am I making mention of that? I'm making mention of it because in this time of helping people, there's some people you got to help who are not being nice to you. And you got to look past that and give a helping hand, because it's not about them, it's about who you are. They will have to talk to God concerning the behavior, but you walk in love. We hear a lot about fleecing the sheep. Before the situation happened, you drive a nice car, you wear nice clothes as a minister. Nobody knows your story, what you went through, but everybody points to your glory, but they don't know your story. For me, I was living comfortably in the United States, and I feel a need to come back and to work in my country. Nobody who wants money, going after money, would want to come back from the States and live here except they have big business going on here. So it could never be a money issue that brought me home. So we see things we don't understand, and people talk about fleecing the sheep, and they don't know what they're talking about. I give to my church. I got staff that I pay. I don't collect salary. Whatever money comes in goes back into church. You come and see in the church, you'll see. So you were looking You look at a man and says, oh, you got to be fleecing the sheep. Hey, you don't have to be fleecing the sheep to drive a nice car. You could be in pajamas, walking with the slippers, and you're fleecing the sheep, and people look at you and say, oh, this person is bad. But you don't know this is the richest one, the richest people. So we get carried away with looks. Some richest people in our world today, you look at them, you can't even tell sometimes. Don't be carried away by what you see. So I want to forget that for a while, the fleecing, because sometimes there's a lot of ignorant talk and people don't know what they're talking about. Remember one time a GPL guy came in and says, you got to pay so much of money. I remember, I said, why? This bill is too high. And I said, well, what's happening here? He said, like, I come to assess your place. Look, you got lights. Look, you got fans. Look, you got this. And I said to him, I said, if I go to your house and I see dogs in your house, it means you're eating dog? He says, well, you know. Not because you see lights mean I'm using all these lights. I don't have church every day. You can't assess me by what you see. You know these things working. And we keep making these assessments that is not factually based. But let's move beyond fleecing the sheep, because we talked about that. Let's talk about feeding the sheep. You were upset when people fleeced the sheep. Aren't you not equally upset when people are not feeding the sheep? Not just with the word, but caring for the sheep. So I give my other ministers the challenge to be a blessing to the church, to the community. Be a blessing to some people who don't even like them. I call on the business community to assist, to walk at a level of maturity that looks beyond political affiliation and race. Because in every religion, whatever name you use, you claim you serve God. And every religion, I know that God got to be a God of love. And love is beyond the color of someone's skin. Love is too strong to be limited to a person's status, their looks, their race. So, as we begin this time, in our nation that we have never seen before, I call upon us as a people to help us as a people, to rise up as a people and be a blessing and a help to your brother man. To let bygones be bygones, and so on and those petty things, and just let them go and think about how could we unite to get the victory. Because whatever little problems we got, what we face is far bigger. So the question, are we going to live as brothers or die as fools? And to us, to every saint, to the people of God, let not racism be named amongst us. We have to break this cycle of pain in our nation. We have to become our brother's keeper for real. Because if we are not our brother's keeper, we are our brother's killer. Don't only help those that you like, help those who need help. Corona is bigger than elections. It's a monster that we have to face together. Let out of this evil come good. Let out of this situation we become brothers for real. Let there be a change from this situation. There are people right now who don't know what they're going to do tomorrow, don't have a meal. And whilst you're looking for your next million, they're looking for their next meal. I call upon you to walk in love. To your brother man. And even if you don't get no write-offs from the government, whatever, just do it because God is love. And you want to walk in love. I call upon churches to help other churches. It's not time to gimmick each other, laugh at each other, who richer than each other. Churches to help other churches to make it through this period. How do we help other churches? Try to help the community that other church is in. Call a brother, call another community. How are you doing? How is your community doing? How could I be of help? I got 600 tins of sardine. My church could only handle 300. What, I'm going to throw away the 300? Or I'm going to call another and says, look, I got some things I could help you with. Are we ready to spoil in our hands when somebody else could get it? The only enemy that we face in Guyana is this virus, not each other. So my prayer is that the business community, the charitable organizations, everybody get on board and be of help. And even if you can't, might not want people to come at your home or your business, drop it off at some temple, some church. Put it in a place that people could have access to it. We are our brother's keeper. Lovest thou me more than these? If you love God more than things, if He's first, you'll have no room for hate. And this is all you'll be thinking about is who you could help. God bless you, my beautiful people. I speak a word of victory over the lives of my people. God bless those that are in our nation. with wisdom. God bless our leaders, government and opposition with wisdom. God keep us safe in this hour. And God help us to walk in a level of love that will break the cycle of pain from amongst us. Walk in a level of maturity that will see our nation through this dark hour. In Jesus' name, amen.